There we go. I think the recording, the recording started. There we go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Hall Green North Ward Forum. I'm going to begin by advising everyone that today's meeting will be recorded and it will be uploaded onto the Council's YouTube channel, and people will be able to view this later on. I want to begin with we've had some sad news come through this evening. Councillor Penny Holbrook, who is the Councillor of Stockland Green Ward, has sadly and suddenly passed away. So I wanted to begin tonight's meeting with observing a minute's silence as a mark of respect for Councillor Penny Holbrook. Kay, are you able to?
Sorry, Councillor. What?
Sorry, with the minute silence.
Yeah. If everybody would just like to mute their microphones, that would be good, and we can start the minute silence. Are you able to time it, Councillor?
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, everyone. So we've got quite a packed agenda tonight, so I'm going to straight away move on to our first guest that we've got here today, who's Abby from the Flood Action Group, Sparkhill Flood Action Group, who's going to give us an update on sort of the work that they do and sort of a proposal that we've come up with on how we can work across the sort of wards in Hall Green North as well. So I'll pass it over to you, Abby. If you want to unmute yourself, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, is that everybody see that okay?
Yes, thanks, Abby. We can see that. We're getting a bit of feedback from your I don't know if it's your earphones or whatever, but that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Hi everybody. As I was introduced, my name's Abby. I work for Groundwork West Midlands. We're a charity that do all sorts of different things. But this particular thing that I'm talking to you about today is we are funded at the moment anyway to support Sparkhill Flood Action Group. Now, as you can see on the slide, we're supporting the Flood Action Group, but the Flood Action Group is made up of local people, whether residents or from local businesses, to help them cope with flooding, prepare for it, and also kind of flood resilience. So kind of what happens afterwards and how do you kind of not make it affect everybody so much in the future. Now, we're running it through a partnership with the council, the Environment Agency, and one of the local businesses, Indestructible Paints, are also involved as well. They're a business that get flooded, so they're wanting to help the whole community basically. So we're funded through the Communities Prepared programme. The Communities Prepared programme is a national emergency resilience programme, and so I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So yes, so the Flood Action Group was previously supported by the National Flood Forum. Now I'll come on in just a sec to explain how this how Hall Green North comes into this bigger picture. So yeah, that's just a little about me. So yes, so Communities Prepared is a programme that's trying to help people to respond to different types of emergencies. So obviously in our case it's flooding, and it's funded by the National Lottery, and it offers training and support for volunteers, just local people, whether or not they personally get flooded, just so that they can support each other in the community. So I've got a web link just at the bottom there. So if you Google Communities Prepared, it just comes up. So yeah. So locally, obviously, we call it the Sparkhill Flood Action Group because it had been the Sparkhill Flood Action Group. It came about through flooding back in 2018. Obviously, throughout the local area, we've got the River Cole that runs through. But the Flood Action Group does actually cover more than just flooding out of the river when the river channel can't cope with the amount of water. It also covers other types of flooding. So I know that I think it was the last weekend in October, just a few weeks ago, there was, I believe it was surface water flooding in what would be part of your ward, that was causing an issue with traffic because it was on the road and things like that. So the area, through the nature of the area, there's a lot more to explain, but is susceptible to flooding in different kinds of ways. Obviously, climate change, you know, it's expected that the risk will unfortunately get greater. So we've got Sparkhill just above where the circle with the cross is on this map. So this is local. This is flooding from rivers or the sea, but obviously we're not affected by the sea. So we've got so all of this blue shaded part that comes down the middle, that has got a tiny little blue line, which is what would be the River Cole. But obviously the river doesn't always stay within the confines of the channel. So this is where areas at risk. So obviously it comes into some areas that would be Hall Green. And this one is surface water flooding. So then obviously we see that it covers more of the different areas. That is obviously, if someone doesn't live right next to the river channel, then they may still be maybe impacted by another kind of flooding. So the update from most recent is that I've spoken to Sparkhill Flood Action Group, having spoken to Councillor Suleman about whether flooding areas susceptible to flooding in the Hall Green North Ward, whether we kind of incorporate them within the Sparkhill Flood Action Group. So then it not a name change of the Flood Action Group, but then it just kind of widens widens the areas that we support, and then obviously hopefully more people will become interested and gain more volunteers that way as well. So this has literally only been happening in the last week. So yes, we are more than happy now that we've got Hall Green in our area. So I will be speaking to the councillor over the next few weeks. I think we're looking to arrange a time when where we can both meet in the area, walk the streets, see different areas. So there's definitely a lot going to be happening in that kind of way. So the flood action groups are set up all over the place. And it's mainly because it's the residents, it's the local people that really understand the areas. They're the people that are in situ, and when flooding starts, it's I don't know, Mr. Whoever down on the corner that knows exactly when it starts because he's looking out of his window going, oh look. So it's that local knowledge really that the flood action group really draws upon. So as a volunteer for any flood action group, encourage people to register for flood alerts. Obviously, if we kind of have some kind of time beforehand where we can think, oh, flooding might happen, we need to maybe take action to just make things try and be more resilient to the effects of the flood. So if it might be, or we just take some personal belongings upstairs, things like that. Identify vulnerable residents. So if there's maybe an elderly person who lives down the road, then obviously the emergency services would need to know that to be able to check on them. Creating and following a community flood or emergency plan. So that's when a flood starts to happen, whether it be from the river or surface water flooding, just when the drains can't quite cope quickly enough to get rid of the water from a big rainstorm. So that the plan is then we'll do this, this and this. Relay information to the community. And relay information back to the emergency services or the council, and collect information about flooding. So that obviously just means that everybody knows more about it. So then we can work to protect from it a lot more effectively, and support the community following a flood. So obviously, by joining a flood action group, it helps sort of manage the flood and build confidence in successfully doing that. Obviously, if somebody just kind of wants to give back to their local community, get involved in community volunteering in a slightly different way. As the bottom point says, the Communities Prepared programme offers free training and support. So there's other things that can come with it. So yeah, there's all sorts of ways that it helps the individual as well. Now the training that we've got on offer, as you can see, there's flood volunteer training and incident management training. So obviously this is very complementary to the work that the emergency services and other agencies would already be doing. Obviously, as a volunteer, you're not expected to wade out into floodwaters, but you could have equally a sort of such a big impact on somebody just by going to check on them. So there's other things that can be done in a flood that doesn't have to put ourselves at risk. So there's also crisis recovery training as well. So joining the flood action group, that's some similar points to how I've just said. So it's really to help with the immediate flood risk, but also beyond that and in preparation for, unfortunately, the risk arising in the future. So anybody can access flood warnings. So obviously they come through the weather. So Met Office, BBC Weather. Weather warnings come in like a little triangle when you just look at your area for a weather forecast, whether it be ice, fog, rainfall, anything like that. Flood warnings and alerts come in different levels. So it's like the severity. So checking on those is really useful as well. This is an app that is free to download. That this actually is there's a river camera, monitoring camera that can be accessed to check on the river level. But also there's river level data, and the flood warnings can be on there as well. We've got another warning service, so they will send you a notification if something may be occurring in your area. And there's all sorts of information online about how to prepare for flooding. So as I say, Sparkhill Flood Action Group is named Sparkhill Flood Action Group, but within the last week we have spoken to the group, and we will be taking on any other Hall Green North areas. And as I say, I'll be meeting with the councillor and we'll kind of be discussing this in more detail. So if anybody would like any further information, we've got the Sparkhill Flag email address just there. Also at the bottom, we've got my email address if you'd like to contact me. The flag email address, there's a number of people that have access to that inbox, but by all means contact me or that one. We've also got a Facebook page, so information goes up on there, information about protecting from floods, flood warning type advice, all sorts of things like that. We're hoping over the next few months we're going to have some kind of collaborative event with some other groups locally, so kind of look out for that. So any events would go onto the Facebook page. We've also got some useful contacts of obviously in the event of a flood, or there's all sorts of information on the Birmingham City Council website about flooding, or if there's different types of flooding, or if it's impacting highways like the roads, then different numbers to contact. So yeah, thank you for listening to me. Are we going for questions now, if anybody?
Thank you for that, Abby. Thanks for coming along, and
no
thank you for that presentation. So we've I'm mindful of time, but if any residents have any questions that they'd like to put to Abby, if you could please raise your hands virtually so I can see. So I'll give a couple of minutes for questions if anyone has any.
As I say, it's literally been in the past week that we're opening the Sparkhill flag up to your areas. But equally, if there's people who'd like to volunteer or just inquire.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is interested in getting more involved, you know, please feel free to contact Abby on the email address, or if you want to message me or anything, we can pass on the details. So thank you very much for that, Abby. So what I'll do is I'll move on to our next guest. We've got the police report with Sergeant Hanifullah. And just to make residents aware that Sergeant Hanifullah's team cover just a section of Hall Green North. So Sergeant, I don't know if you're going to give a report for the Hall Green team as well. Is it just for your side of the ward?
Hello, sorry about the delay. Get me. No, I haven't necessarily got a formal written report to feed back as such. I think I do cover part of Hall-Green North. You're right. I think what's key about this to discuss, if you don't mind, is I know through the pandemic we've missed a lot of opportunities to engage with the community, and I think that's quite significant in terms of we're looking at 18 months since the pandemic started. I am admittedly somewhat disappointed that ourselves, from a policing perspective, we haven't engaged with our wider community as well as I'd like us to have done. And I don't think that's unique to Sparkhill, Hall-Green North, or any particular area. I think it's unique across, it's sort of quite common across the whole force. We usually always had face-to-face direct meetings with the community. This hasn't happened. There are obviously good reasons for that. Doing this is the next closest thing to us getting to make contact with our community. One of the very key things we're trying to do at the moment is build up our trust and confidence with the community and develop our WM Now database. I'm not sure if yourself, Councillor, is aware of WM Now. Are you familiar with it? Or yeah, it's a very important way of messaging, sending email alerts to our community. I mean, it reaches right across the force. It's not just on a local level, but we would send out key messages to the community around burglaries, robberies, all forms of crime that are taking place. But it's not just about reporting crime, it's reporting all forms of incidents. And we had a very horrible incident at a zebra crossing on Readings Lane just a week ago, where a very young 3-year-old was killed at a zebra crossing. I'm sure everyone's aware of it because it did hit the headline, the local news headlines. And the child was killed at the zebra crossing. Driver made off at speed, but then often 30 minutes later, he's then handed himself into a police station. At the moment, he's on police conditions on bail, which means he's subject to further investigation. I'm happy that we did a lot of engagement with the community in that locality, and that wasn't any significant community tensions in terms of any problems between various parts of the community. The young child was only buried on Friday, so about 3 days ago, basically. So probably one of the saddest things that can happen to any person, to any family, is a loss of a child. And even from policing, as a police officer, we all have our families, and the last thing we want to hear is a child being killed. And some of not necessarily my team, but officers from another team attended that incident. And they then obviously have had to go back and police that locality literally the next day. Nobody wants to do this or see this again. Community safety is the most important thing any of us would want, and I don't think it's just a police point of view. I think we all want that. So I'm very much open today to ideas, not just around road safety, but around anything that we can do for you to help you, and what we can help get from you as a community. What we were very keen on as well is obviously building up our number of people who are actually signed into WM Now, so it enables us to communicate with you, and you are able to communicate with us. And the other thing we'd like to develop on is to improve our numbers in our street watch. So we have a lot more people creating street watch for both their roads and areas, because just like what was spoken back by Abby, the Sparkhill Flood Action Group, this is about volunteers, members of the community working together with partners to achieve and resolve common problems within the community. And that is the type of community I'm looking for, because I'm sorry if I'm going on a bit, but I'm trying to sort of get people to understand what my mindset is. Issues in the community are not solved by the police alone. They are not solved by partners alone. They are not solved by the community alone. It's solved by all of us working together. And that is the most important thing about neighbourhood policing, is about what we do together, and having the community trust us and have confidence in our abilities and our partners. None of us can achieve. There is no single crime I can tell in my 24 years of experience that has ever been solved without the help of the community. The community are vital in enabling us to achieve that. So rather than throwing lots of statistics and figures, I want that human element of it to be understood. That's what we, and I'm sure the council would agree, is the most important thing that we get right, is about how we work together.
Thank you very much for that, Sergeant. And yeah, I think the whole community were sort of shocked and affected by the death of little Maysoon. I myself have been in touch with the head teacher and visited the school the very next day and spoke to parents, because I think it is, and I agree with you, that it's collectively the issues that affect our communities. We need to work on them together, and I think together we can. That's where we can really make the difference, when we're all, we're working as one. And I know that a lot of people, I mean, one of the things that I've had raised sort of with me from the very beginning of becoming a councillor is safety, road safety, in particular around schools. I mean, this particular school sort of falls under our ward, but the crossing sort of is just on the border. And I think you've got 3 different police teams on that corner, and the same thing we've got with councils. We've got 3 different councillors, and it's a different constituency. But I think what's important, we don't let that sort of get in the way of what we're sort of trying to achieve here. And I think all of us will agree, we never want to see something like that happen ever again. And we need to work together to make sure that we really make our communities as safe as possible. So I'd like to open it up to everyone here. If anyone's got any questions that they would like to ask Sergeant Hanif, Ola, if you'd like to raise your hands.
Sorry, Councillor. Can I just mention, I forgot to introduce one of my colleagues here. She's just joined our team very recently. I'll allow her to introduce herself if you want to go.
On PCSO stands there.
She just joined our team in the last few days. So just for those who don't know her, she's will be has joined our team as a new officer.
Welcome. So would anyone like to ask any questions? Yeah, I can see one person, Farina. Do you want to go ahead? I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah. Hi all. It's definitely quite sad to see what happened a couple of days ago on Readings Lane. I personally live on Readings Lane, so it was quite a high impact to local residents and of course mainly the family. I think one of the feedbacks that we're getting through a very new friends group, which is the Friends of Readings Lane Park, which is down by Foreman's Road, is that we need the right platform to bring certain issues to be discussed through, like, for example, residents to come together. I think there's just a bit of a confusion at the moment locally about where residents gather and bring up their issues and how they can help in particular. There are a lot of people locally that can help, but I think there's just a confusion as to where that one forum is, because there are quite a lot of forums, as you can imagine. There are a lot of people within the local mosques and churches that have also flagged some interest, and lots of local residents that are doing their own parts by having, petitions here and there around parking, safety, speeding being one of the main ones, which we had raised as a group in 2018 to a couple of people. So I think one thing that would be helpful is just knowing where we can discuss these issues in a more, I would say, in a more less critical manner and more proactive manner, I would say. That's one. And the second thing that I would like to raise on a slightly different aspect is just trying to understand where neighbourhood watch or street watch kicks in around Readings Lane Park in particular. We have been observing quite a few activities at night in particular that we can't necessarily get involved in as local residents because it's very difficult to and quite dangerous, particularly for women folk. But it'll be good to understand how far the street watch and neighbourhood watch are in progressing to come. I don't know whether it comes that far up into Readings Lane Park and see what is actually what I don't know at the moment, and what the group doesn't know is what actually is happening on the ground. Thanks.
Thank you, Farina. Sergeant Hanifield, I don't know if you want to come in there on how residents can get involved in neighbourhood watch or street watch in particular.
Yeah, Farina was quite right in terms of, I get it from a community perspective. There is confusion about who does what covers what area. When we talk about Readings Lane, it does fall over. I'm looking at the map here. It does fall over onto the Yardley constituency, particularly Acox Green. But that doesn't mean that as a police team we have no responsibility for sharing issues. So, for example, the Readings Lane incident, we was between our two teams were sharing the responsibility of policing the area outside the school, because some of the schools sit on our side, some of them sit on the other side. But in answer to Farina's question, we're very keen in developing a street watch in all areas. And the area that she spoke to was the recreation ground at the junction of Foreman's Road with Readings Lane. That falls in my area. I have an email address which is accessible very easily via Google. If you just type in my name to Google, you'll find me right on the top of the list, and send me an email with your contact details on. And we have a street watch form that needs completing. It's very simple, 2 pages of A4, no more than that. You complete the form, send it back to us, and you can develop your own street watch basically for your particular locality. Now, street watch is all about the community coming together with the support of partners to look after their area. And you get some you'll get some training as a part of Street Watch. You'll be signed up as a Street Watch member. You can there's usually a Street Watch lead who takes the lead for that particular group. Ideally, we need a group of 3/4 who represent a particular area, and they would be the people who would be having direct contact with our teams, and we would be having direct contact with them, sharing with them information about what's going on in the area and how we can help them and how they can help us. Does that help to answer your question, Farina?
Yes, no, thank you very much. And hopefully going forward in regards to what platforms or what forums we can locally come to, hopefully that might become a bit more clear in the new year, I would expect. But yes, I'm sure some of the local friends groups can get involved in representing any of the discussions that are ongoing.
Thank you. And just one last point on that. It is really reassuring to see that groups actually already exist within the community, such as the Friends of Readings Park Lane, you said, so Readings Park, Sparkle Flood Action Group. These are all voluntary groups who are making a huge difference. But sometimes, admittedly, not all our police teams know of their existence. And there is I'm not referring to just my team, and I'm not being ignorant in terms of saying we don't know of any of the groups. I'm just saying there are many groups out there that we don't always know about, and we would love to know about them. And maybe just send whoever, if those groups exist today on the screen, please just tell us of your group, let us know. We'll contact you, we'll develop some type of working partnership, which is, like I said, is really important to achieving common goals.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, Son. That'd be great, because with the Friends of Reading Lane Park up, they're quite fairly newly set up, but they're really active. So I think if it falls into sort of your area, it'd be really good for you guys to work together. We've got another question. Amjad, do you want to go unmute yourself? Amjad, can you hear us? Right, is there anyone else? I don't think Amjad can hear us, so can everyone else hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, yeah, I can't see anyone else with their hands raised. Sorry,
Councillor, I don't know if Amjad wants to type his question in the chat box if he can't unmute himself, or if he's got a problem with his that. It might be easier to put his question in the chat box.
Amjad.
Hello.
Oh, hello. We can hear you now. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Amjad, we can hear you now. Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, just a bit of a technical problem. Yeah. I was just saying that. Thank you everyone for participating in the meeting, and just like to point out to Sergeant Hanif. Obviously, with the tragic accident that happened recently, I was just thinking that if we can get some community police officers in, just to patrol. Now, what would normally happen? You'll have parents actually parking on double yellow lines or wrongly parking a vehicle on pavement. It does get quite crowded up morning time. That will help if we can have some kind of patrolling in the morning time, probably a few times a week or something like that. I mean, for Farina's actually covered everything. She pretty much has covered everything. But I'm just thinking, just to point out to this is why it's important, just to have a deterrent in future.
Hi there, Amjad. Is it a specific locality you're referring to when you say yellow line zigzag? Sorry.
Yes, that's right. Yes, the double lines. Plus, what is you have parents parking up all over the places on pavement, double yellow lines, and then zigzags. And what also what's really important now with the zebra crossing. I just thought in that if there's, and I will speak to district engineer later on, if we can have some kind of safety hump nearby there and like a red zone or something like that, some kind of patrolling nearby there, because it does get quite crowded up in the morning times with particularly few schools, infant school, and there's nursery there too. It does get quite crowded up in the morning time. So that will actually have some patrolling of community police officers.
Hi, Amjad. You're referring to Readings Lane, are you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, myself and the sergeant of the ACOX Green team, together with the MP Jess Phillips and heads of all the schools in that locality, met about a week ago, and so that was literally 1 week after the accident, after the injury, the death, and we agreed that at one of the zebra crossings there was a need for a lollipop, some type of as we, I do remember the old lollipop lady that we used to have, and that would be a deterrent that causes cars to slow down, and obviously she or he contributes to cars actually stopping at the zebra crossing.
Yes.
That is something in which, in credit to the schools, and the council will be able to correct me this. Normally, what happens, and that's something I learned on that particular day, that is always paid for by the local authority. We have put through the MP a request that a lollipop lady is employed at locality. Yes. But in credit to the schools, they also, and a huge credit to schools, they also offered to pay for this from their own funding. So this was regardless of it being paid for by the local authority, but the first protocol has been put to the local authority. It is being discussed about in terms of providing a lollipop person, and in the worst case scenario, both schools are very willing to pay for that. So that will happen more than likely.
Okay.
And on top of that, between our two teams, we have been going down there to the school. Much more so, it's been from the ACOX Green team, who have been literally sending all their team down. In fairness, you are right. The issues regarding parking, yellow lines and zigzags are not solved overnight. And it's not unique to Readings Lane. It probably feels worse in Readings Lane because there are many schools together. But great credit to Olive School, or I think they have a system in place whereby the parents can drive into the school grounds, drop the kids off, come out, and they actually start their school day. And this isn't just started recently, this was started right back in April when the school opened, where they start school at 7:30, so as to reduce the traffic congestion in the locality. I do see some positives coming out of this. It is a vast change, a vast loss to think we've lost a young child here. There is nothing that can make any person, feel better. No changes will ever make that feel any better. But there is some very positive things coming out between all the schools working together. the next meeting with the schools and the MP, and I believe various councillors have been invited as well. So I'm not sure who those councillors are, but they've been invited to as well. Is on the at some point 9th or 10th of December. There will hopefully be a very positive outcome to feedback in respect to that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you, Amjad, for that question. And I'd like to say that I myself have also written to various departments in the council asking for urgent resources to sort of be directed on this crossing. And one of the things that I've been really fighting for, and I can see we've got Karen here who's a head teacher of another school that I've been fighting to try and get some resource for school safety. And I think it's really frustrating for residents and parents and councillors alike when we're having to sort of fight for this, and then something like this, a tragedy like this occurs. But I've really, since last week, I've been sending email upon email, and I'm still waiting for a response. But I think we just need to keep working towards this, and it's something that affects our children, our communities, and it is a really important issue. Karen, before I bring you in, I've got one more person who's raised their hand. Shafak, if you want to ask your question, and then I'll pass it on to Karen.
Hi there, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Yeah. I just had a little kind of follow-up question to what Abdul said. It's about the safety around the schools. And one of the primary concerns I have also is about how people double park, and especially on Battery Way, just like Olive School. People park on the pavement and the bike lane. It's basically, it needs more enforcement around it. I do understand that police need to do something about speeding and other issues like that, but also the same element that causes the problem is the way people park, and that needs more enforcement from the council. So if we can have something to be done where we get more regular people coming around to enforce the signs and lines, that'd be great.
Sorry, Sergeant, did you catch that question? I think it might be useful if to kind of get distinguish which sort of parking enforcement the police cover and the council, because I know it's two separate. You have the dangerous and the illegal parking, which is covered by either the council or the police.
You're on mute, Sergeant, I think.
Yeah, apologies, I was slightly distracted then, sorry. You were saying about the double parking, wasn't it?
Yeah, on the Battery Way, I think in particular Shafak mentioned. So would that be something that would be covered by the police team, or is it council's enforcement, that particular the bike lane when the double parking on Battery Way?
Yeah, Battery Way, is it the one off Foreman's Road, is it?
It's the one that comes off Reddings Lane. You know, the new carriageway between, it comes off Reddings Lane and Warwick Road, in between it runs.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure it falls in our geographical area, but I think the key point I'm trying to get out is about the legislation, about what the powers of enforcement are. If I can explain that. So did the question come from Shafiq or Amjad? Who was it from?
Shafak, it came from Shafak.
Shafak, okay. Shafak, basically, in terms of yellow lines, they are not, historically they were enforced by the police, but they're enforced now by the civil enforcement officers. Where the police come into play in respect of this is if a vehicle is parked in such a way that causes danger to other road users, then we issue tickets which are under a different penalty code. It wouldn't be falling under yellow lines. That's done by civil enforcement officers who are given those tickets for. Double parking, parking as zigzags, is not unique to Battery Way or any sort of locality. It seems to be a very common trend across all wards, across the whole force area. And what is very frustrating, it does tend to happen, you're right, in double parking when it comes to school times, start and end times, where parents are stopping the vehicles, picking children up, dropping children off. And as a result of parking in that manner, it obstructs the view of other drivers and therefore puts pedestrians at risk of harm. We have a team known as the Road Harm Reduction Team, and their very job is about reducing harm to the community when it comes to road safety. Now, they don't work particularly on our team, but they're sort of covered the whole force area. One of the biggest areas to battle, to really fight against, is about educating the public. Even though it sounds very common sense that that's behaving and driving in that way causes danger, there are still hundreds and hundreds and thousands of parents that still do this. I'm not just pointing the finger at parents at all, you know, it's a wider picture than just parents. But we are talking about school, the most dangerous times when this happens is at school start and end times, where this is happening. Parking is zigzags, therefore obstructs the view of a person trying to cross a zebra crossing. We have powers of enforcement with the police to issue 3 points to the licence and a fine to the driver of that vehicle. And the biggest area of challenge is how we get around this. So did you say, Councillor, there was a member of a school, head of a school here on one of the, on our meeting here? Yeah,
we've got Karen with us, who's the head of Hall Green Secondary School. So Karen, do you want to go ahead and...
If I can just add something for Karen's, is the very big issue is that, and it's not, I'm not aiming the pointer finger at any particular school. I think it's a very common trend in terms of safety and parking, what we do at those times. As from any police team, it'd be very difficult to sustain a police presence on a regular basis at any particular school. It'd be very hard. What we do really rely on is sort of people like members of staff or senior leadership of a team at particular schools, helping to educate the parents through letters, through emails, through assemblies about, you know, or parents' evening, using that as an opportunity to sort of re-emphasise to parents how important it is to maintain good road safety. And people like Karen and various other schools can help us vastly towards achieving this objective.
Karen, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, firstly, I'd like to echo what other people have said. You know, tragic, absolutely tragic circumstances. My condolences to the family and any of the community affected. As the councillor said, I'm Karen Slater, the head teacher of Hall Green Secondary School. So not part of, you know, that particular road and that area where the few schools are located. However, myself and the council have been working closely since I took up post in January this year, and everything we're saying tonight is echoed, and the frustrations, I think, of residents, of the police, of people parking and driving in a dangerous way, of the council. Yeah, all of us have the same frustrations, and we all want the same outcome, that we want the roads to be safe for all users, particularly the children, and particularly at school time. This is an ongoing issue at Hall Green Secondary. I continue to do what I can in terms of educating parents. I can't control parents, and that's the frustration, I guess, for residents, that, you know, as much as I can say to parents, and myself and the senior team will go out and tell parents they shouldn't be parked on the pavement, they shouldn't be doing 3-point turns, you know, directly outside of school, etc., etc. We have no powers, and that makes it very difficult. And that's where Sergeant Hanif, you know, I know you talked earlier about the need for different people in the community to work together, and this is absolutely one of those things, because we don't have those powers. And I asked when there was a road safety initiative, and schools were offered or told that there would be the enforcement groups, the council enforcement from a road safety point of view would be visiting schools, and I specifically requested, and we didn't have anyone. So I get that resources are stretched, I get all of those challenges. My biggest fear is that we will have an accident outside school, and tragically that's what's happened in the last few days. the amount of times my senior staff will step into the road and deal and marshal traffic, it's unacceptable. You know, I can't. I find it very hard to accept my team are stepping into the road and having to deal with these things. But my biggest frustration is the hoops we have to jump through. And I'll say that in this meeting, because as much as we will try and do as schools, and those primary schools and infant schools are clearly, you know, looking and putting their own resources into this, and that is important, and we do the same. In order to have any road safety measures, so I'm talking not about the law enforcement side, but looking at how the road is configured, for example, speed bumps, double yellow lines, all of those things that we are trying to get by Hall Green Secondary School, or at least work with the residents to explore what's the best option to make the road safer for all users. The hoops are that the school have to jump through hours and hours of an application and strategies within school to get this to work towards safety. And Councillor, I know you've been working with us. I know you've been brilliant in terms of the support there, but I guess I want to just reiterate, and I'll keep saying it at whatever forums I can, that it is unfair to expect schools to jump through these hoops. I can do assemblies, I can do letters to parents, I can do all of that, but there must be a quicker way for the residents and the school to work together to get some consideration for road safety measures. That's one aspect of it. I get the policing and the other side of law enforcement, making sure people are following all those things. But my concern outside my own school and some other schools is that we don't even have the safety measures we should have outside schools. And unfortunately, we are just waiting for more accidents to happen. As much as we will try and reduce these, stop these, that's out of that's a very difficult situation that we're in.
Hi, sorry, Councillor, do you mind if I just quickly get a word?
I was just going to quickly say, I don't know if you want to also get in touch with Sergeant Luke as well, because I think that school falls under his ward as well, and just mention it to him as well, if there's any working together that can be done there.
Yeah, I will make sure that's shared with Luke. We've got a note in here, Hall Green Secondary School. We'll make sure he makes, if he's not made contact with you yet, Karen, I'll make sure that he does. But quite right what Karen's saying. As I said, we met with the heads of the schools in Readings Lane last week. And there were some really positive things, and I'm sure they're not the only school who contributed hugely to reduce. And one of the things that Olive School had mentioned, and I'm not suggesting every school has to adapt to this and do this, but in view of the fact there's so many schools in such a close locality, Olive School actually start their school day earlier, offer it out to parents. There's 120 kids go to that school, and they actually start at 7:30, so there's less traffic congestion at the road. And about 120 parents, children take advantage of that 7:30 start. But it includes a free breakfast club as well, so there's no cost to the children to take up that free breakfast. And it was like an incentive to get the kids in earlier and the parents in earlier. So that's 120 less children and parents on the road. And then there was a staggered time in terms of when the kids joined the school, depending on year groups. I know, and I don't personally work in school, but I imagine how difficult it can be to manage a school of a particular size and get that working in that way. And the responsibility is huge. It's not just on the schools, it's on the community, it's on our people, it's on our pedestrians, it's on our drivers, in how they park. And the frustrations are not unique to a particular geographical area. It's across the whole board where we're getting this still going on outside many schools. And I don't know what the quick solution is to all of this to get that, to change that. Ultimately, the person who's at fault is the driver who drove in that way. He's the person to blame for all of this. I'm not in any way trying to put blame in any school. There's no one to blame for this. The death of a child was down to a driver driving in such a manner who's put someone at risk and killed them. And that is the worst thing that could have happened to anyone. I have huge admiration for all schools, for what they're trying to do. If anyone's has any ideas out there, the police can help or form some form of system in terms of where we can help with make roads safer. And in relation to the question around what Karen said about the configuration of the road, one of the objectives agreed at our last meeting is that there be a survey done by the local traffic survey department from the council to try to decide if there's something that could be changed in that particular road that would make it safer. So we're waiting to hear from that, how that turns out.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Sergeant, for that. And I think definitely from today's ward forum, I think it's good for us to come together and hopefully we can work on some of these issues together. So I'm going to move on because I know we're really short on time, and we've got 2 more speakers that we need to go through. We've got on the agenda, we've got Les with us today from the Waste Management Department. Les, sorry, I didn't ask for anything in particular, so I'm not sure if you've got any updates to give us. Maybe on the mobile HRC or anything. Have you got anything how that's sort of going? Any updates on that for us?
Yes, Councillor, I've got a presentation, but it might take me 10-15 minutes to present it. And I know you're pushed for time. I'll be quite happy to come to the next board meeting and share the presentation in its entirety. But can I just focus on some fly tipping data, etc., for what we're doing as a service?
Yeah.
So if take over, I'll just share my screen. Says.
Do you need to share your screen?
Yeah, hopefully it'll come up shortly. Is that visible now? Sorry.
Yeah, that's it, Les. Thanks.
Okay. So I can't see it once I'm sharing. I can't see the screen other than what I'm presenting. So I'll whiz through the first few slides because it is quite a few slides long, but it's quite interesting. So we've got some challenges, as we know, across the city. And again, if you invite me next time, I'll talk about these. But what I wanted to talk about was fly tipping, and we start about here. So we've been looking at increases, not just Birmingham, but it's across the whole country where fly tipping is getting worse. So the top graphical line there, if you look at the dotted line, that's the projected increase in fly tipping, and you can see that since we started measuring, I think it was 3 years ago, or last 18 months ago, it was peaking at 600, and now we're somewhere around 1,000 per week. So it's getting towards double the amount. It is significant in different areas of the city. And onto the left-hand side of the screen there, you can see where the most prevalences of dumping. So it is generally in the city ward. It doesn't touch all Green North, unfortunately, I would say. However, we do still have some of that. And I've seen a couple of emails only today by the college, Serrell Road, Stratford Road. So as I go on, I'll explain. We are taking actions, and I think I mentioned this in my last meeting. And the actions we're taking is we're going to have a wall of shame. So we've got some new cameras, which are just about going out. We're using some visual deterrents to tell people we're watching them, and we're going to deal with them when we catch them. We're targeting hotspots, and Serrell Road, as I just discussed, that came to me today. That may be somewhere in the future where we look to try and catch people dumping. We're trying to make sure that people are legally compliant, and that would be a shopkeeper that he deals with his waste himself. And we'll put videos onto YouTube. So the 2 pictures there are people that have been prosecuted. You can see the guy at the top's been putting cardboard in his recycling bin instead of the cans and bottles, and the young lady below has found it okay just to dump a bag behind the cable box there. Again, they were dealt with. and we've stuck that up on our wall of shame. We're as discussed, I think, at the last meeting, our waste enforcement now are back up to full strength. And again, the 6 key wards where we're seeing our biggest problems of dumping, we're engaging them on them 6 wards in the first instance, but we will come to look at other hotspots as well. So we might go up to Stratford Road, we might go into All Green itself, and we're going to be doing some exercises around there. We've got the people recruited. We're just finalising the training, and they will be on the streets near you very shortly. We've got some extra fly tipping crews, and again, we are taking pictures. We're putting barriers around, and the teams are, there's 3 in the east. So from Redfern Road, the depot that services All Green North, we've got 3 extra crews there because we've got predominantly the worst areas at the 6. And there's 1 in the west, and that's situated at Petty Bar. They are separate to our normal street cleansing crews. They are out there just to capture dumping and take actions. And you can see there's a couple of guys there getting the information so we can take actions against them once we catch them. Again, on Stratford Road, and I know this is a problem we've had in All Green up on the Parade and up around Robin Hood Island as well. Black bags being put out on the streets. People with red carded properties or flats above shops, we've taken on as a trial period to see if it works, 10 additional crews, and there's a picture there of one of the vehicles, and they will be looking to be going round the main roads, round where there's shops or red carded properties, and doing up to 3 collections a week. So I'd suggest that All Green Parade, as an example, we won't have 1 collection on a Thursday or Friday. They'll have 3 collections across the week, so it'll be Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And we will be working across weekends in certain areas as well. So it could be that you have a collection Tuesday, Friday, Sunday type of thing. We've also taken on some deep cleaning crews. The team consists of 6 people. We use what we call the LAMS data, which is the data which is generated by the government. And what they do, they look at every road every month and give a survey of it to tell us the condition of the road. That LAMS data is presented to us, and what we do, we go out and give that road or the worst roads that have been identified a real deep clean. So we're using the data given to us by people that inspect Birmingham and the streets with a view of going out and doing deep cleans. So I can't tell you where we are exactly in All Green North at the moment, but I'll be able to look that up for you, Kath, if you need. Again, we've got some additional graffiti crews, so we took on 3 more. So we've got 1 in every depot now and 2 based at Montague Street. So if we see graffiti, if it's on shop fronts, it can be a bit of an issue because we have to get permission to clean it off a shop front. But we are more than able and willing to go and knock the door when the shop's open and ask if we can come quite early in the morning and clear the graffiti off. The Love Your Streets team, if I can come back on the next meeting on that one, because I've got quite a long discussion on that if I can. And you asked about the mobile HRC sites. We've got them now, they're working in all wards across the city. We are looking what wards need more than others. So in some of our more low density areas, we might come more often than once a month. We aim to come to every ward at least once a year. But some of our, again, most challenging wards, we might be coming 2-3 times a month. And that's where we're just planning that out now. And it's been a rip-roaring success, I will say. Pictured there at the top, one of our crews that come out of Redfern. And from memory, is on Dolphin Lane in Acott's Green there. And the residents enjoyed it that much. They bought some tea out in there, China cups. So, you know, we're more we do attend. And the bottom vehicle is, this is what comes to your road. And we can take away old electrical items. If they're still usable, we can take them away and reuse them. They'll go to recycling sites and give them to the more needy, sorry. We can take away green waste. We can take away any lumpy or big pieces of cardboard or plastics, generally any waste. And the vehicle behind, if you've got some old bric-a-brac that's no longer usable, or a mattress that's been hanging around, they will kindly take that away from you and take it away free of charge. We will help people if someone's elderly or infirm or disabled and they can't get to us. If they can just get someone to make it then known to us, we'll come and get it from your property, and we'll bring that along and again dispose that in our trucks. Again, I'll come back to Lovely Street next meeting. So we're looking at the behavioural change of the public. We spoke about with the parking, you know, unfortunately that child that died, that we need to change people's perception on what they do, and we're trying to do exactly the same with people that fly tip and dump. So we've got some grime tape that you can see in the picture there. If people dump, we may well stick some tape around it and leave for a couple of days to tell people we're watching it, monitoring. Then we'll remove it. But after we've gone, we'll put some powder-based paint down that will tell people what this has cost to move and what could have been spent elsewhere for the services of Birmingham. And we're reaching out to mosques and churches and centralia places like that. We want to come in and share this presentation and have conversations wherever we can. We want to talk about community support, but again, if I can come next time round and talk about that because of time. And obviously, every meeting that I attend, and I do attend quite a few meetings in the evenings, the main subject people ask is about enforcement, what they're doing. I've already suggested that we were getting up to full strength and they're going to be out, but I've just got a couple of slides that I feel sometimes irrelevant that we show what we're actually doing. So we are working with the West Midlands Police. We will seize or will confiscate people that are dumping illegally. And these two vans, as you can see, they were out trawling the streets, picking up waste and then dumping it. We did them a favour and crushed their vehicles. So, you know, we are more than active. And here's just a couple of examples of some of the ones that we did do. So some nice person in Handsworth dumped 11 tonnes of waste. We took him to court. He went to jail for 5 months. And it cost Birmingham Council £7,000 to clear it. We took his HGV licence off him so he couldn't drive no more. We crushed his vehicle. He was driving the vehicle on false plates with no tax and insurance. As I say, we're looking to recover the money once he comes back out of jail, but he went to jail for 5 months. Another guy or another person dumped 7 tonnes of waste in Ward End. He got 13 months jail. It cost us £1,500 to clear the waste, but it cost him his 2 transit vans, which we crushed as well. So, you know, again, we are really tackling these people that want to come and do it on our streets. This one, who's a trade waste, said he was dumping it outside the allotments. We've caught him. We charged him £1,600 for doing that for us. And again, another one, someone had a solo was coming across the border into Birmingham, into Bursley Park, and he got fined £6,000 plus costs. Couple of others, I won't tell you more, but I'm just trying to identify that we are taking it seriously, more than seriously now. And if people see anyone dumping waste and they get videos or a photograph, please let us have it, especially if we get a registration, because it's no nonsense. We will take the appropriate action. This guy, he was only 5 minutes away from a waste site. He only needed to pick the phone up and book a slot, and he could have went free of charge. Supermarket was dumping all their waste out. We actually identified which supermarket. They got fined £1,400 with the costs, and we insured these, and they got a trade license or trade contract to deal with this waste. This guy got employed to deliver catalogues. He delivered them into some bushes for us. He got a £400 fine, £440 fine. He had £400 in costs, and unfortunately lost his job as well because he wasn't doing what he was being paid to do. And much the same with this guy. He drove in from Rednall all the way over to Smallheath, drove past 2 HRCs, that'd be Lifford Lane and Redfern, and we charged him just around £2,000 for his trouble. So January to June this year, we can say major convictions. We had 14 for fly tipping. It's earned the council £13,500 what we fine people, and £15,000 in costs. We've put people away for 13 months in total. And some of the smaller fines, you can see there, 311 fines for littering. That's people dropping litter. They just feel it's okay to throw it out the car window, etc. And this money's generated and it puts back into the system to try and encourage people to do it less and to engage more enforcement officers. So there's more in the pipeline, as that suggests there. We're going for a no-nonsense tackle, but we will still be educating people, obviously. That's the end of that one. It's a bit of a whistle-stop, Councillor, but if anybody's got any questions.
Thank you, Les. Before I open it up, if anyone does have any questions, if you can raise your hand, just a couple of points that I wanted to bring up, Les, while I have you here. First of all, you know that parade, the section where Hall Green Library is.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we spoke about it last time. I think we're still having issues there. I know we were supposed to go down and have a joint visit, but we never got around to it. But again, there's some still issues about bags being dumped. I know one of the food places has shut down there, and I think there's like a contract waste bin that's out the front, which is full of bags, and then there's some bags that were strewn all over the road. So I don't know if you can get somebody to take a look into that. I don't know, because I don't know where that's come from.
Yeah,
So
I guess the business has ceased trading and just left, and left out. So
yeah,
I can look to identify who owns the bin and get them to come and remove it.
Yeah, that would be great. And the other thing I've recently had a lot of people get in touch with me about is street cleansing, in particular with the leaves falling. The two roads in particular I've had people contact me about is Sayhall Road and Southam Road.
Yeah.
There's probably one or two more which I've raised them, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But is there like a rota or something for the street cleansing for the leaves? Because
yes, there is, Councillor. This time of year we take on extra staff for leaf clearing. It's been a strange year, I have to say, this year, that it was really warm, really late in the year, and the leaves never started falling until quite late. And then we had a brief change about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Things really started. Then it went warm again, but with the cold spell just coming now, overnight last night, we've seen a big drop in leaves again. So most of the trees are getting towards empty. I've picked up them 2 roads, but I know we do a lot of work in Hall Green. We generally put acre over there for the whole season. So I'll get them looked at on the list of when they're due to be done. And I'll get them picked up as soon as I can. Won't be just them 2, they'll do the whole area, ticks all the whole lot around there. Give the area a good clean up over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much for this. I can't see anybody else's hand raised, so thank you very much for that, Liz. I'm going to move on because I know we're really short of time, and Gary's been waiting really patiently there throughout.
Just a quick one for Les. Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hi, Les. It's Annie Fuller from the police. Very quick one. Stratford Corridor. I will send you an email, but if we can arrange some type of joint partnership day where we do a good clean up of that road, we'll obviously agree an appropriate date for you. I don't know what your thoughts are. You know, there's a lot of alleyways down the side, just a real mess, and it's been great work. I can see there that it's really good, and I love the name and shame. I love that.
Yes, I'm more than happy to come and have a walk around and get joined up with yourselves. I'll get the I'll have a word with Gary to come out with some of his team, etc., etc. Let's try and make a difference. So I'm just looking for your email address so I can drop you a line.
Yeah, don't worry. Paige will email you. We've got your email address. We'll sort it.
Yeah, lovely. Now, look, give me a shout out and we'll organise something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Liz. Gary, I'm going to pass it over to you. Just if you can give people an update about some of the measures that we've got planned and anything else that you want to mention in terms of the sort of works around Hall Green North.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for the local engineering team, we tend to take on more of the smaller works. The bigger schemes, like the Highfield Road, Stratford Road, Foxhollies Junction, that has been picked up by Highways Transportation. It is in the programme from March, and so they will be picking that up. They'll be looking at various options and consulting on and taking them forward. From the local engineering side, we tend to have two main programmes that we work through, the ward minor measures and the safe routes to school. From the ward minor measures, we've allocated funding to be doing Shaftmore Lane, Junction Reddings Lane, a small scheme where we're going to be putting humps either side of the entrance to that junction to try and slow traffic down on that junction, and a similar scheme on Cateswell Road, York Road roundabout. We've undertaken the consultation with residents, which has been generally favourable, and both schemes are now in the next stage, which is formal notification of the TRO, which is Traffic Regulation Order, which applies to the actual humps being on the road. We're hoping that they will go out this side of Christmas, but due to staffing problems, it may be just after Christmas, which will mean that then we'll be looking to get the measures put in early in the new year. The Safe Routes to School programme, well, we're doing a scheme on Shirley Road outside St Ambrose School, one on Pitmaston Road outside Robin Hood Academy, and also the Hall Green Infants and Juniors on Petersfield Road. All those three locations are in various stages with the contractors and whatever, but they will all be completed before the end of March. Physical works around the Hall Green Petersfield should be starting hopefully in the next few days, a couple of weeks, and then will be completed after the Christmas break in the new year. I've noted the comments from the head teacher earlier about Hall Green Secondary School and the demands on the school to get included in the Safe Routes to School programme, and I will feed them back to the travel demand team. Unfortunately, from the engineering side, we don't stipulate the actual schools that are included in that. We just get given the schools, and then we work with the schools after. It's the school travel team that I think it's Mode Shift Stars is the initiative, that they work with the school on the Mode Shift Stars that decides which schools get taken forward. So I will bring that up with them and see if there's anything we can do to try and get Hall Green Secondary School included in a programme for next year, which will begin in the end of March, April. I think that's about all we've got. I've just quickly flicked through what's happening in their area at the moment. But if there's any questions or anything, I'm happy to take those.
Thank you, Gary. I know with the Hall Green Secondary School, when I spoke to Mandy, who's from the travel, yes, she did say that Hall Green Secondary School will be considered in the next round of funding.
Okay, that's great.
So yeah, we just have to wait and see what the sort of outcome of that is. I know that in terms of Reddings Lane, obviously where that particular section is, I think Councillor Shabrana, it falls under her ward where the tragic accident happened. And I know that she was saying that she's going to work with you to see if there's any minor measures that they could sort of introduce there. A couple of things that residents sort of have raised with me is in terms of if say, for example, getting the speed reduced on that road, so saying making that road a 20-mile-per-hour road, which sort of department or team would that fall under decisions like that made, and what sort of cost would be involved in that? Is that something that you'd be able to advise?
Reddings Lane 20?
Yeah.
I think it already is.
Is it? There's no signs or anything up?
I know there is one outside the Olive School that says the schools, you know, the school children sign the triangle with the school, and it does say 20 there. I could check whether there's more signage. I believe it is 20 miles an hour already, but I can look into that.
Yeah, that'd be great if that's something
Okay.
you look into, because
And-
yeah, definitely we've had issues raised in terms of speeding and across the whole road. I know we're targeting that one particular junction.
Yeah.
But I think the whole road, there's issues with speeding around that whole sort of stretch. I've got some one of the residents who's got their hands raised. If anyone else would like to ask Gary any questions, if you can raise your hands, I'll take the first question. Amjad, would you like to go ahead? No, he seems to have disappeared. Amjad, do you want to ask a question? You're on mute, so we can't hear you.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you now, Amjad. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, just yeah. Hi, Gary. Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, I have some number of suggestions on Reddit's Lane in particular. Earlier this year, I started some petition, and when I actually went to the door to register.
Sorry, Amjad, we can't hear you now. You seem to have gone silent there. So, Amjad, we can't hear you now. We've got Farina's asking a question. So if Farina, do you want to go ahead, and if Amjad's mic,
Yeah, I can.
do you want to go ahead? Yeah.
Yeah, quickly fill in that time. Just a question. We are getting a lot of responses around getting speed bumps on Readings Lane, but there has been an update, or rather hearsay, that speed bumps will not necessarily be ideal on Readings Lanes due to emergency vehicle use. Just wanted to confirm, is that actually a fact, or is that just hearsay? Because I think speed bumps would have a very successful, if anything, slow down the levels of speeding that we get, not just on Readings Lane, but Battery and Alton Boulevard West, with 3 schools in a very close proximity.
Yeah, speed humps. There used to be a thing where we weren't supposed to put speed humps on blue routes, which are the ones that preferred emergency services. That was an old cabinet member's decision, but now that's no longer the case. We can put them on. Obviously, we would need the support of the emergency services if the emergency services were against any proposal, but we can do that. I don't know what's happening on Readings Lane. As the sergeant said, there is meetings going on with MPs, councillors, and hierarchy in the highways transportation, and something will come out of that and filter down to us eventually. But at the moment, all I know is discussions are going on. But in answer to your question, yes, we can put speed humps or speed cushions on emergency routes.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Amjad, do you want to quickly come in now? Can you? I thought your mic sort of came on there for a moment. No, I think he's having connection issues. Does anyone else have any further questions for Gary? No, I can't see anyone else. So I can still see Amjad's hands raised, but for some reason we can't hear him. Thank you very much for that, Gary. Thanks for coming today and waiting so patiently. Yeah, so looking forward to our next meeting. Does anyone have any suggestions of anyone in particular that you'd like us to invite to our next ward forum? So if you just unmute yourselves, Farina, anyone? So does anyone have any suggestions on who we could invite to our next ward forum? Yeah, Farina, do you want to go ahead?
We have another meeting next week whereby we can ask that question to the local residents and potentially come back to you on that one.
Yeah, Farina, actually, do you want to announce the meeting that you're having in the Friends group here now? So if there's anyone else that might want to attend or join in with your group, you want to? We've got a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. So we have a Friends of Readings Lane Park meeting, generally to talk about updates around the area, particularly, of course, around and about the park itself, and improvements that we are aiming to make or bidding for. So we're more than sort of, I mean, for example, any of the groups are more than welcome to attend. I know Abby has already approached us from Groundworks, and we're more than happy to get even Springfield Police at some point there as well. It's on 30th of November in the Tyseley Community Centre in a face-to-face environment. However, we are looking at potentially sending out a Teams or a Zoom link as well for those who can't attend on site, and it's at 6:30 on the 30th of November, which is, I think, a Tuesday. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Farina. I think we'll leave it there. I can't see anyone else got their hands raised. So thank you.
I don't know where she said.
Sorry, Farina. 6:30. What location did you say it was?
It's the Tyseley Community Centre, just off Foreman's Road, opposite Alfurkan School.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully it's been very, very useful. I know it has been for me, and there's lots of things for us to get on with. And I think you know, we've got some brilliant residents, we've got brilliant groups, and together, you know, we can make a difference. So I look forward to keeping in touch with you all and working with you on all the issues that we've discussed today. So I hope you all have a good evening, and see you all soon.
Thank you.